Hi and welcome back. My name is Joshua from tagng. It's so good to have us back on this journey of learning R. So shortly before we start with what we have for today, let me take a mind back to what we did in a previous video on the concept of getting and setting working directory in R. This is such an important concept in R programming, and this has to do with our ability to connect our R platform to a specific folder on our computer system. And the aim of doing this is for us to be able to import a specific data set or files into our R platform for further analysis. So today we'll be focusing our attention on how to import into our R platform data set that has the CSV extension, the comma separated values. And so I have prepared like two data sets we'll be using for this particular tutorial. The first is this wine quality data set, and you could see this is what we want to import into R for further analysis. And then we have used this in the previous video, the student performance data set. So how do we bring in this particular data set into R? And mind you, this data set are stored in this folder. They are stored in this folder called practice, and practice is a folder stored inside the document folder. So the first thing we are going to do obviously is to be sure we know where our R, the folder our R platform is connected to at the moment. So we do that by using the getWD function. So we could see that this is connected to the document folder. So we need to change a directory from document and set it to read files that are present inside a subfolder in document called practice. So how do we do this? We can easily write a code like I've said, but let's get to that. You can see set wd and you say directory equals, so you can easily copy everything we have on the console, you paste, then you put a / still within the quote, and you spelled the practice the way it is being spelled here, this folder. So you say practice in capital, practice, and then you run it. So for us to be sure that this has been done, you can run the code on line 1 again, and you could see that this is set to practice. So the easiest way to do this is for you to just go to section like we discussed in the last video. You go to set working directory, and then you choose the directory you want, and by default you will see it is set to practice to take you to the place where R is connected to at that particular moment. So in the case where you want to change it back to document, you just click on document and you open. But right now we're interested in reading files that are present in practice. So the first file we will read in right now, that is the first file we will import into R, is the file that is the student performance file. So very simple. I will say read. This is the first function we're going to learn how to use, read.csv. And you could see from the documentation that we have in front of us that this particular function is from the UTs package, but one of the base packages, that is packages that came with your R platform by default when you installed it. You need not to go on CRAN to download them. So when you look at it, this tells us that this particular function helps us to read a file in table format and create a data frame from it with cases corresponding to lines and variables to fields in the file. So we say read.csv, and then you could see a lot of arguments that you can supply into this particular function: the file, the header equals true, the separator, etc. So in this case we will just say student performance, student. So because this is present in that particular folder, while you just press stu, you just do what we call pattern matching. You just press the tab and it suggests to you that particular data set that we have in that folder. So you just run this, control enter, and you have the data set. But when you look at the global environment, you discover that the data set is not available on the global environment. Why is this? What we have on the global environment most times are things that are stored in a particular variable, so for it to be available, so that any time we want to use it again, we can always call it back, we can store this particular result we have right now on our console inside a variable. So let's say we call the variable dat, and then I say read .csv student performance, then I run this. So if you check the global environment, now we now have it available on the global environment, that the data set that contains 1000 observations of 8 variables. So to view this, you can easily write your code by saying view, and then you supply DAT. And the other way, the alternative to this is just click on what we have on the global environment, and you see another particular channel opening up here where you could see the content of the data set. So that is how you can read comma separated values into R using the function from the utils package read.csv. So let's take for instance that we are interested in reading, and if you look at it, take a look at what we have here. This is what we mean by comma separated values. If you see, like, these are the heading, and you could see that the headings are separated with comma, gender, race or ethnicity, parental level of education, launch, test preparation, etc. So these are the values we have under each of these headings. So the values we have: female, group B, bachelor's degree, standard none, You could see that this is a typical example of a comma separated values. But let's take for instance that we are now interested in bringing this particular file into R that is not separated by comma. Now in this case it is separated by semicolon. So how do we import this into R? We'll still be able to use the read.csv function. Let's check that out. So if I say that now, the essence of doing that is to store whatever we have in a variable, and we can easily view it on the global environment. So I'm going to say read.csv, a function from the utils package, and now I am interested in wine quality. So if I just press wine and I use my tab, it suggests to me that particular data set in that folder. So if I run this, check the global environment, you would see that this is 1599 observations of one variable. And let's take a look again at this particular data set. You would see that this is not just one variable. There is a variable called feast acidity, there is a variable called volatile acidity, citric acid, residual sugar, but it's telling us that this is just a data set that has one variable. So this is wrong. So what do you think we need to do? So the first thing we need to understand here is we have to supply an additional argument, because easily read.csv helps in reading files that are separated by comma, but in this case they are separated with semicolon. So what we need to do, we need to supply one more argument, and that is the argument called separator. You see sep, and then sep equals to, you put the quote, and within this quote you supply the separator. The separator in this case is semicolon. So if I run this again, and we would see that we're now back to the way that one is meant to be viewed. So if you click on it, you will see the feast acidity, that's the first variable, the volatile acidity, the citric acid, residual sugar, and the values under each of these variables are viewed as 0.4, 0.7, etc. So that's the way it can be viewed. So one of the thing we're going to learn again before I close is a package. We're going to learn a package. We're going to learn how to use some functions from the package readr. So this package is one of the packages we have in a robust tdverse package. But let's just learn how to use one of the functions. I'm just going to use one or two functions from this particular package. So for those of us that don't have this package readr, it is easy. Just go to install. When you go to install, just press read and readr. So it suggests it for you. You click on readr, ensure you check install dependency, and then click on install. In my case, I don't need to install it again because I have it. So if I have it, and if you have it on your own system, all you need to do to activate it is to say library, and then you say readr. So when you run it, this gives us the access to use this particular function called readr. If you check your packages area, you see readr, it is checked because it is now available and ready for use. So the package the function we want to use from this particular package is the read_csv, and easily this helps us to read command delimited files. So let's take, for instance, we have been saying, let's use bat now as an example and say read. Let me space this down. Oh, good. So read_csv. Good. Read_csv. Oh, okay. So let's press it down, read_csv, and then let's start with the student performance. The tab, and then you run it. Let's see what will happen. You could see on the global environment we have bat to be 1000 observation of 8 variables. You could see we have some kind of statements right on our console, and there is no crime with those statements. You could just read those statements and a lot of things can be derived. So for us to retrieve the full column specification for this particular data set stored inside bat, we need to just say spec and we say bat, and it gives us more information on each of the variables that we have in that particular data set. And for instance, you are not interested in any of these particular things, go back to the code on line 10 and just supply this further argument, show _column_types, and say I don't want to see all those statements on the console after I read the file. So you could just run this again and you will see that that particular statement is excluded. So that is how we can read files into R using that function read_csv. So there's another function we're going to learn again, and this is specifically used in reading files that are separated with semicolon. So and that is read_csv. Let's learn that too. So let's take, for instance, I just still want to use it to read in this student performance, just for us to have a good understanding of what each of these functions stands for. You could see that it has done that for us. Let me call this bat1. You see, bat1 tells us 1000 observations of one variable. Can you see it? 1000 observations of one variable, and this is trying to tell us that, oh, this is specifically used for a certain thing. So in this case, it would have been better if we use this in reading. You can remove a certain variable. Don't forget, we've done this in many videos before now. So you could just say bat1, and then when you check the global environment, it is out. So let's say bat1 is specifically, we know what this particular function is used for. So CSV, so read_csv 2, and then the best thing you can read in with this particular function is this wine quality data set. So we just say read_csv, and then we say wine quality. We say wine quality, and then we run it. So easily, without we having to supply an additional argument of separator in the case of read.csv from the UT's package, we just need to use the read_csv coming from the readr. So there are a lot of functions we can use in reading CSV files into R, and many of these functions are with a lot of packages that we have in our program. But for the essence of this tutorial, we have learned how to use the base function coming from the UT's package, the read.csv, and at the same time we have learned to use two functions from the readr package, the read_csv and the read_csv2. So what is the difference? So why we advised to use this concept, this read_csv as against read.csv? Most times we have discovered that the read_csv is times 10 faster than the read.csv, especially when we are dealing with large data sets. So it is advised that we use this read_csv. And there are some occasions of which I've talked about it in a previous video, where vectors will be converted to like factors. In this case, that happens when you are using read.csv, but in this case, when we will be using read_csv, that particular situation doesn't occur. So I want to believe we've learned something today, and I am sure right now any kind of file we have now that has comma separated values, we can easily read them into R. So we'll stop at this place today, and by the grace of God, we'll continue from where we stopped today in our next video. So I look forward to seeing you in my next video. If you are new to this channel, you can subscribe, and you can also hit the notification bell so you will be the first to receive the news on my next video. And once again, don't be selfish, endeavor, try to share this channel with your friends so we can learn R together. And I want to believe God will bless you all. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for choosing to learn R with me. See you in my next video. Bye.